ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰንብታችኋል? እንግዲህ በዛሬ ሄለን ሾው ፕሮግራማችን የመጨረሻውን ክፍል በኤምፓወር ዘ ኮሚኒቲ ዊኬንድ የሚባለው ኢቨንት በጁላይ 1 በዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ኮንቬንሽን ሴንተር በተካሄደው ቆይታ ላይ ከነበሩት የመጨረሻውን main stage power panel discussion the future of tech የሚባለው ነው ይዘንላችሁ ምን ቀርበው ይሄ እንግዲህ ውይይት የሚካሄደው በተለያዩ የቴክኖሎጂ ኢንዱስትሪ ስራ ላይ የተሰማሩ በትልልቅ ኃላፊነት ላይ ያሉ ከፕራይቬት ሴክተር ገቨርንመንት ላይ የሚሰሩ የራሳቸውንም ስራ የሚሰሩ ኢትዮጵያን አሜሪካን ኤሪትሪያን አሜሪካን ጋር የምናደርገው ቆይታ ነው የምናሳያችሁ ማለት ነው እንግዲህ ቴክኖሎጂ በህይወታችን ላይ በጣም ትልቅ ተጽዕኖ አለው የነሱ የህይወት ተሞክሯቸው በዚህ ስራ ላይ ልምዳቸውን ወደፊት ደግሞ ስራው ምን ቦታ ላይ አለ ከሚል አንጻር የነሱን አስተያየት ያካፍሉናል ማለት ነው እንግዲህ ባለፉት ሳምንታት እንደተጠቀስኩላችሁ ይሄ ዝግጅት የሚካሄደው እዚህ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ውስጥ በመሆኑ ኢትዮጵያውያኖች ብቻ አይደለም የሚሳተፉበት ስለዚህ ሁሉንም ለማካተት በእንግሊዝኛ ነው የሚሆነው ይሄን ቆይታ እስቲ ወደ ፕሮግራማችን ወስዳችኋለሁ ከኛ ጋር ቆዩ
Hi everybody How's it going? I hope you're enjoying the day. I know I've enjoyed it tremendously, so I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that all of you are here, actually. So we're going to go do our last, but the best, power panel, the future of tech. Many of you have actually requested this panel in the past years. We know a lot of our community members are in the tech industry and they wanted to hear for people that have different experiences, different parts of tech, and the panelists have very diverse experience, very diverse industry. So I hope the conversation is going to be informative to all of you. So I'm going to introduce our panels. I'm going to start with Terry Cavalieri, CIO, Chief Information Officer at the District of Columbia Office of United Communication. Yay! You have a fan base here. Shagal Tesh Tasfaye, tech entrepreneur and a founder of Advocacy. Happy that you're here and thank you for helping us spread the word at Empower. Nagash Asafa, Director of IT and then Chief Information Officer at the Maryland Department of Transportation. Welcome. And Briye Abebe, Chief Information Officer at Armed Forces Benefit Association. Welcome one and all. Come on to the stage. I don't want any of you to write me saying, how come you didn't have a female on this stage? Next year we will have one, but it's not for a lack of trying. So if you have female leaders in the IT, please direct them to us. We'd love to hear from you. Have a seat, gentlemen. Come on. Sit next to me. So I have to start by saying tech is not in my wheelhouse. But Ariam earlier, one of our panelists said, you need to stretch yourself. So I'm stretching myself when I'm having this conversation with all of you. So I want to start off by saying, let's get to know you because like I said earlier, you all are in very diverse industries within tech. And it would be great to kind of establish where everybody's coming from. So I'm going to start with you. Tell us about your background and also your career journey, how you got into IT. That would be good.
Well, thanks for having us on the panel. I think we give you a lot of kudos for all this work you've been doing all these years. Empowering our community, I think it's a big thing, and hopefully we get an opportunity to talk about, what all of us can bring to the table and help out the community as we venture into this tech space. I'm Terry Cavalieri. I'm currently I just changed jobs. I'm still working for the district government. I'm in the security office now, the cybersecurity office, taking care of cybersecurity processing. So it's an exciting space to be in. I came here when I was 16 in high school, went into community college for a number of years, and I think we can talk about, what avenues that folks can take to get to it, anything that you want to get into. But I think the community space is a community college is a great way to get into that space. Ended up Virginia Tech, ended up making some of my best friends in life at Virginia Tech, which I think also helps as we venture into the workspace or professional space. And I was doing consulting work, wireless communication consulting work for a number of years, ended up doing consulting work for the district government, and joined an agency within DC government taking care of public safety systems across the city. We process, millions of calls a year when you call 911 or radio systems and things like that. So I was responsible for those systems for a number of years. And that's where I kind of choose recent.
Tesh, Silicon Valley, right?
Silicon Valley. This is home now, right? My name is Teshager Tesfaye. I hail from Silicon Valley. I came to the States when I was 18. Like my esteemed colleagues here, started in tech. When I was 14, I came to the States, where a family member actually took me to a company where he actually showed me computers, and when I asked the question, how does it work? He said, it's for you to figure it out. So that started the quest of the curiosity in tech. Tech, I call it the dark side, which is hardware. I was a chip designer, and then later on did networking stuff. We had an amazing ride during the dot-com years, and one other corporate gig, and after that there was all startups. I've done over 7 of my own. Most have crashed and burned, but it's been a phenomenal ride, and there's a lot to share, and I look forward to chatting with you. And by the way, Helen, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for what you're putting here for the community. Really, really, I mean, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Okay. I second what they said. Helen, thank you for what you do. It's really great to see how this event grew throughout the years and your service to our community, and really an opportunity for all of us to meet one another. And I don't think I would have had a chance to meet these amazing guys if it was not for you. So thank you so much. My name is Bria Biv. I'm CIO in the financial industry. I got into IT kind of accidentally, really. When I was in college, I studied math, so that's kind of close. But the reason why I picked that major really is because I really didn't know what I wanted to do as a career. And then one thing led to another, and ended up in the IT world for the past 25 plus years. Maybe I shouldn't mention numbers, because kind of saying my age at the same time.
It's all right. It's all right.
We're in a safe environment. We're amongst friends. Kind of gradually my career progressed, and it's really an exciting field, and be happy to share my experience and have a great conversation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and Helen, I don't want to be the odd one out, starting by saying thank you. So really appreciate the opportunity, not just for you putting it up, but for the audience also for showing up. Thank you very much. My name is Nagash Asafah, and I moved to the US in my late teenager, 16, like Telly. And when I moved here, really growing up in Ethiopia, there are 3 careers, maybe 4, right? You either has to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a pilot if you're lucky. So we came to the US with that mindset. So once we arrived to the US, like most the opportunities was in, and picking up the career became difficult. And also at the time when I moved here, the late 80s, generally, Tash and I were talking earlier, it's a do and die. You have to survive. There's no parent to take care of you, your son, for whatever reason, for the safety of the US. So you have to figure it out. And really picking a career was not an easy choice. But I always knew I had a curious mind, and I wanted to try and learn how things work. One thing that really motivated me to really pick IT, again, I mentioned this to Tash, so I hope I'm not divulging too much. In the late 80s, early 90s, there was this thing Tash formed that's called EEDN, Ethiopian Email Distribution Network. To take you back, this is during modern time. There was no internet per se, and the EEDN was a way through the wires to really connect and learn about other Ethiopians in the US. So that was huge factor in deciding. So when I went to college, I still wasn't 100% sure. So I did minor management information systems. Once I graduated, I moved to this area only because my girlfriend then, my wife now, lived in this area, and the only job I found was to be a tech solution specialist. Basically, when the sales team go out, they would take the tech guys that could explain to the business what the solution is. That's how my tech career started, and throughout the years I had grown in the field and where I am.
Wonderful. So technology touches every facet of our life, right? It's a rapidly changing at a fast pace. I don't think any one of us can keep up with what's happening in technology. But I want to talk about barrier to entry, and especially as immigrants and minorities. Do you think there are some unique challenges that we face when we're trying to get into the tech industry, or even trying to, strive in that within and grow within that industry? Are there any unique challenges that we face as immigrants?
Unique challenges every day, absolutely. Particularly as an immigrant, a minority, I think happens. What at least what has helped most of us is your work ethic. How much are you willing to put in the time to be ready for that opportunity when it happens? And it doesn't have to be just tech. It could be any industry that any one of us can get in. But if you don't have that work ethic, it doesn't give you an opportunity to be able to explore any of these opportunities. You can go get certification, you can get your degrees and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have the work ethic, you will fail in any of these opportunities. And I think, at least for me, having that work ethic and willing to work hard and to grind into that space and learn from each other, have other people you can rely on, ask questions, I think is important. As an immigrant, that was the hardest part for, at least, I don't know some of the panelists, but for us to break into the space and to get to the next level, that is the hardest part, right? How do we open those opportunities and without showing that hard work? I don't think folks above you give you those opportunities to move up into different spaces. You don't have to be an expert in any of these spaces, but at least if you show that you're willing to work hard, someone will always notice that and give you those opportunities to open those doors to the next opportunity.
That's correct. I think tech has become more forgiving, especially in the startup world. If you know what to do, and if you can grind, and if you can show results, and you can be resilient enough that you can get ahead. But I think there are always structural challenges of, one of the things that was hard for me, for instance, is even after doing the work, in the work environment, being very shy about it and not talk about it, others will glean from that work that you've done and get credit for it. So not speaking up, right? And in a way, those challenges still remain. But I think the most important thing is as Teddy was saying, the discipline and the curiosity and the tenacity that you would have to learn, wanting to learn and get ahead, will actually get you further than just getting a certification. Yes, great, you have a certification, what have you done with it, is the question that people ask. So you have to take the extra mile to be able to get there, but tech has been more forgiving, as I've seen.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely true that African Americans and Hispanics are underrepresented in the STEM world. Not necessarily only in IT, but science, technology, STEM-related fields. I think the number is, for example, for African Americans, 11% workforce, but only 8% is represented in the STEM area. I think it's important to emphasize that underrepresentation is also reflected in the fields that African Americans major in at the university. So I think there is a correlation, and When you are training less IT or STEM students, naturally that would reflect in the workforce, that you will have less people represented in the workforce also. So I think, and that seems to be the easiest thing to solve. And so for anyone who wants to be in the IT world, then the first thing I would say is, if you're going to college, and get the education, and don't be afraid to get into the STEM areas, whether it's engineering or IT or in various other STEM related fields. So as we increase the number of African Americans in our community in the STEM world, in education, I think we'll naturally see it in the workforce also. And I also want to say one thing here, that I think the barrier has to do with maybe a misunderstanding of what that world looks like. And it's kind of intimidating a little bit, and you don't have to be really an expert in anything to get into the field. I think that's a barrier for a lot of people, that they get intimidated, that I'm not good in programming, or I'm not good in, the dark side, the engineering stuff, the hardware stuff. But in the IT world, for example, there are many layers of skills that are required, needed. So if you look at the job openings out there, you may see 60,000 developers, but 20-some thousand project managers, testers, service desk personnel, so are needed, and their jobs are out there. So regardless of your skill set and your talent, if you want to be in that field, there is plenty of opportunities, and don't be scared to push yourself into that field. And I just want to share that with you guys.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል። የምትከታተሉት ያላችሁት the future of tech የሚባለውን main stage power panel discussion በempower the community weekend ላይ የቀረበውን ነው። እስቲ እንደገና ወደ ፕሮግራሙ ልሰዳችሁ።
Nagash, before you answer, I can piggyback another question. All of you can chime in into that. There is this stereotype in tech that just a certain ethnic group is better at it, or they're more competent in it, and so people are intimidated, and there's that psychological barrier to entry into that industry. How much of that affects people? Because they don't know the kind of facets, just the diverse fields in IT that they can get into there, but there is a psychological barrier to say, maybe I'm not good enough because all I see is Asians and white people in institutions and companies, or even like this week, was affirmative action, when it was rescinded, they're saying, oh, it's because the Asians, there's all that conversation going in the background. Is there a psychological barrier in tech?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to say this. I think tech, probably more than any other field, is more diverse from my experience. And tech is the great equalizer. What I do see is a lot of times people try to take a shortcut, just get a certification and then say, I'm certified in X, Y, and Z, and I want to have a career in tech. I think what is really important in tech is an individual has to be well-rounded. Not only be a subject matter expert, but has to really understand how the technology comes together to become a solution. What I oftentimes see is getting the door usually is not the hardest, but once you're in, growth becomes a challenge. And to that, I think many people have mentioned that here. A critical aspect is one, determination, hard work, and two, especially in our community, being able to speak up. Speak up doesn't mean bragging. Speak up doesn't mean showing off. Speaking up means even in meetings, just asking questions. Or the something is not, right, just speak up. It doesn't matter whether you're right, wrong, or either way, just speak up. But I think a lot of times I see that falling up people. There is absolutely true. There is certain monopoly from, certain nationalities in the IT world. But what I would say, from having worked with them a lot, it's actually, I don't want to call it out loud, but a lot of it actually is not, a lot of them are not even qualified, but they do have a network. They would support one another. They will just do anything and everything to get them in. By far, from my experience, folks that I've worked with, any folks from the continent of Africa are by far more qualified than others.
That's a great point to make. I asked this question earlier to the business and leadership panel, but I want to ask it off of you because your journeys it probably goes into this self-advocacy in the positions that you're in. You don't just get to be a leader one day. There's a process, there are layers, there is a journey within the career. So I want to ask, what is the value of self-advocacy in your respective, industries and your respective organization? How does that, what role did that play in your career? Like you said earlier, we're Habesha, we want to be humble, we don't want to, just brag about what we did. This is what I did, this is look at me. But that's not it. We're talking about professionally, in a professional setting, in a professional environment. So what does self-advocacy mean to you, and how could people use that in tech?
I think as a challenge we run into, at least a space I've been working in for the last number of years. One is let your work show for it, right? You work hard, but let the work show for it. And make sure that people recognize that your subject matter area. I think we talked about it. Don't come in as an imposter. Don't just get a certification and get the job. But then you don't have the content to show for what it is that you can bring to the table. Whether it's in these meetings, whether it's panels, whether it's work groups or smaller meetings, speak up, have conversations, make sure that people know that your subject matter, and you can be better than anybody else in that space. You don't have to be the best at it, but you can understand the content of what is being asked. Do the homework, do the preparation, research. There's so much information available out there now. You don't have to, repeat the work that somebody else has done, but we can learn from what other people have done. Take advantage of what is out there. If you have a network of folks that you can talk to, if you have mentors, I think that's one of the things hopefully we can talk about is, rely on those mentors. I think when we were coming up through these systems to get to some of the positions that we've gotten into, we didn't have a lot of mentors. We didn't have a lot of people we could look up to in our community, or folks that look like us that we can talk to them, have advice, have conversations. We do have that. We have that now. This is unbelievable panel that you have here. I saw the panel you had earlier. Such dynamic groups of people that have doing so many great things. It is unbelievable what is available out there. I don't know if we're doing a great job. I mean, this is a great event now that gives us an opportunity to talk to everybody and folks to see that there are people in positions that are doing great things. But I don't know if we do a great job of creating those environments in our community across the world. It doesn't have to be in the DC area where there's a lot of Ethiopian, a large, Ethiopian community here, but we're everywhere. We're doing so many great things. So I think, those are the kind of things I would look at, try to take advantage of.
Self-advocacy is very, very important. As Teddy was saying, mentorship. One of my mentors gave me a book, a very famous book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I used to get in trouble because I wouldn't speak up. And I had a manager that actually gloated over the work that I did. And I in fact, I gave that book for my boys. It showed me the mechanics of how to communicate effectively and how to speak up without stepping on people's feet, but still get across your point. It's very important to have mentors, and we'll come back to it perhaps later on. And the fact that I can go back and discuss with my mentor from time to time as a feedback loop and being able to know how to navigate the waters has been, I have no words how effective it was. So I think in a nutshell, self-advocacy is very, very important. But I'm sure the audience and others will ask the question, where do I start, right? So unlike the times when I started in industry, there are many of us out there. And people shouldn't be shy to reach out to those that are experienced, even a cold call over LinkedIn, and be able to talk to people, to be able to get what's your input or what's your advice. But, we'll come back to it later, but it's a very important thing.
Yeah, I think, I agree what you guys said, but just to add to that, it goes back to having that diversity of talent also, because self-advocacy means that you can actually speak up in a forum like this, or with your boss or your coworkers. So speaking in front of people, advocating for yourself, if you look at it as a talent, then you can start working on it. The book you mentioned is one of my favorite books, maybe top 5 books. And I learned a lot from that book. And it's reading books like that and other things. And just because you're a programmer, it doesn't mean that you have all the skills needed to progress and succeed in the IT world. You need to be able to communicate your ideas. You need to be able to present in front of people, and these are skills. So you need to have that diversity in the skill sets that you're developing, and you have to work on it. It doesn't come naturally. And some people may lean more on the communication side, like Helen, right? So you are a communicator and you do a great job with that. Other people don't have that talent, but it's something you can work on that and improve, and that would help you advocate for yourself. And one more point I want to make is, I think it's important to share where you want to go in your career with others in your surrounding, whether it is your boss or coworkers. It's important to articulate that, share it and say it out loud and say, hey, this is where I want to go in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's important that people know that and hear it from you. So I think, and then that would motivate others to open doors for you, to mentor you and support you in your career goals. So it's important to speak up and also just develop the skill set to communicate.
Yeah, I think just one thing I want to add is self-advocacy is very critical, but it also has to be big vision. I remember when I first started working in the US, I was at McDonald's. 4-hour shift. By the time I got home, I was totally exhausted. Every second of that 4 hour was accounted for. When I got trained and I was told, how to make hamburgers. And here I am proudly going to my supervisor, say, I'm done. I did 16 hamburgers. And he looked at me and he goes like, what are you waiting for? Go cut the tomatoes. Go like, what? So time is really precious. So as you're advocating and as you're really trying to get to people that are decision makers, respect their time too. Don't go for every small thing trying to say like, here's what I have accomplished. It is important to have the vision of the organization and how you could contribute, grow that organization. You would have more audience and more clear understanding of your goals if you're talking about the organization goal rather than just individual goals.
That's great. So this next question, Nagash and Teddy are in government, but you're in association. Well, the only entrepreneur we have on this stage, well, is Tesh. And so I want to talk about venture capital. Usually access to venture capital funding for minority and immigrant businesses or individuals that aspire to start a business could be a significant barrier, especially in this country or even in Africa, anywhere. So can you share any specific strategies or approaches that you took when you start all of your, businesses over the years? If you can share your experience and any other advice that you have for those that are interested in starting their own tech ventures.
Let me start with a story, very short story. One of the first companies we were trying to do in Ethiopia was back in the day, mobile phone, SMS-based. Board of directors of a venture capital firm sitting down, asking us how we're going to do this business. The first question I get asked is, how are you going to deal with corruption in Africa?
My biggest pet peeve, by the way.
You know, it's like, and I answered, do you know Microsoft, Dell, and everybody else? They said yes. Do you know that they operate in Africa? Yes. What makes you think that we're going to do anything different than them? The moral of the story being that there is a stigma of Africa, fears back, and being able to raise capital. It has changed. It has changed. It has taken a first step or two steps. Still has a long way to go. Where you're looking for capital matters. A lot of people think that you have to go to reputed VCs in New York or the Bay Area to raise capital. Why? Right? Can't you actually raise something from the community? Can't you raise from friends and family? But the critical thing is anybody that's going to give you money wants to know that their money is going to be used for good use, meaning that whatever you want to build, first and foremost, they have to believe in you. Second, you have to prove that you're fundable. And third is that you judiciously take their money but use it to good use to grow the company. So, you know, it's a high barrier to be able to meet, to be able to get funded. So before you get to funding, the thing that I always tell people is do something, build something, prove yourself, bootstrap it, put it on your credit card, whatever it takes. Otherwise, why should I be trusting you with my money for something that you want to gamble on? It's not play money, right? So the most important thing is A, as we had said earlier on, you need to be able to network with people. Don't go talk to people when you need money. Start way early. Socialize. Help out events. Help out activities where these people that make decisions can come. That's networking. Second, be good at something, right? Whether it be at tech, whether it be at marketing, whether it be at in business. The most important thing after that is, like I said, do something that gets you to be funded. Last but not least, you know, there's many of us in our community, and I've seen stories, and I know people that have done it before us, and during the course, learn from others, because people will tell you openly, share with you their experiences. There's definitely a lot of missteps you'll do, but reach out to folks that have done it, and I know a few founders that openly help others and share their experiences, but like I said, there's more money not necessarily here, even in Africa. So don't think that the glass tower is only in the West Coast and the East Coast. It's all around.
Epilepsy Ethiopian. Kuta fashion now. Lal promoting Ethiopian honey. Ruby Balal. Alliance Care Now Balal.
Artec Solution.
African inspired jewelry brand now. Abugida school ለማስተዋወቅ ነው እዚህ የመጣ ነው. Hot Sauce Company. የተለያዩ gold plated jewelry ነው የምናቀርበው.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል። የምትከታተሉት ያላችሁት the future of tech የሚባለውን main stage power panel discussion በempower the community weekend ላይ የቀረበው ነው። እስቲ እንደገና ወደ ፕሮግራሙ ልሰዳችሁ።
Let's talk about mentorship. I think it's critical for anyone in any industry to have someone that they consult with, that they get advice from. It doesn't have to be from the same industry. It could be anyone actually, but someone that you look up to, someone that actually could share significant, information with you about whatever it is that you're trying to do. So talk about the role mentorship had in your career, how you benefited from it. I'm hoping, or I'm assuming that you all have mentors, and talk about how others should go about, especially in the tech area, how they should go about finding mentors that they can connect with.
I think one of the things, at least for me, took the longest amount of time to have any success in the space I'm in is because we didn't have that layer of mentorship when we were coming up through the systems. And I always advocate any opportunity that I get now, that any one of us that have an opportunity to mentor anyone else that does that, I have young kids, I start talking to them at that age, at the young age, that we as a community, we need to start talking to our folks. We need to start pulling people up through the systems, right? Giving them advice. Over the years, I have so many opportunities to work with people that have done different things, but have been stuck in a position for a long time. It's just that one or two conversations that really sparks that next step, that really sparks what changes, what direction you go. Maybe you don't have to do that thing anymore. Maybe there's something else. So I think mentorship is so important where we are, and as a lot of the young folks that are coming up in the systems and any industry at this point, particularly in tech, what happens is there's so many things that are available in tech. One of the things that always burns me is, we're all on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and people are talking about how much money they're making in tech. So what happens is you have this view that you can get a certificate and jump into making that $100,000 job, right? But in reality, that's not how it works. We get so many people coming to interviews on paper that look so good, but you're not able to present yourself. You're not able to provide content behind what you've done. And I think mentorship is where all of these things, all the dots get connected. Because I think as mentors, we will get an opportunity to talk to you about what you're doing, to guide you, whether it's a direction that you should be going or something else that you should be doing, or completely changing industries if it needs to be. But I think those are the kind of things that would have helped me, instead of taking so many more years to get into the layers of management we've been able to get to. That mentorship would have made a tremendous difference in leapfrogging into opportunities.
Mentorship has played a huge role in the trajectory of my career. The first job out of school, it's a mentor, a family friend that was in tech that helped me get the first break. The first successful startup I joined, one of the chief scientists was my mentor. Why was he my mentor? We used to work until 3 and 4 a.m., but the only cars in the parking lot, and he knew that I was grinding with him. My point is, mentorship is very, very, very critical. I do have 5 mentors today. On a weekly basis, 1 hour, half an hour, 1 hour call with each one of them. And we talk about, not necessarily tech, but life, decisions, and so forth. So mentorship is very important. But also think about the other side, the mentee. When you're seeking a mentor, why do you want that person to be your mentor? What qualifies them to be your mentor? Because, there's a standing joke that we have is like, talk is cheap until you hire a lawyer. And anybody can tell you whatever you want to hear, but you have to be able to find out why you're seeking mentorship and who the mentor should be, and have a plan of how to be able to approach them. Believe it or not, a lot of people, and especially, both Ethiopians and Eritreans, as well as other very successful people, if they openly see the desire and the burn and the zeal in you, they're willing to talk to you. They're willing to not necessarily mentor you, but at least have a conversation with you. So, when you're looking for a mentor, know exactly what you're asking for and why, right? I've been very privileged to be able to have mentored about 6 to 7 guys, and it's an amazing ride, and being able to see them fly, right? So, but at the end of the day, I also have very limited time. So when I look for mentees, they have to be ready to be mentored, because my time is also as valuable as theirs. So in a nutshell, I think mentorship is very, very important and has to be fairly fostered.
Yeah, mentors are really, really key, and like all of you, that played a great role in my career growth and various other things. But I think it's important to find the right mentor that you yourself has to be really excited about helping someone succeed. So whether it is people that work under you or over you, your managers, if you genuinely develop that desire to help others, in that process, and I think you will find others who are also willing to help you succeed. So if you combine the fact that you are clear on where you want to go, you share that idea with the people around you, and focus on helping others, I think that combination will pull the right people in your life and in your career, and they will be able to mentor you and guide you throughout your career. Mentor doesn't have to be one person for one type of skill. There are people that I look up to and watch their and how they perform in terms of leadership, others in communication, others in the technical world. So I think it's important to have a diverse mentors in your life, so that you will develop that diversity of skill and talent, and I think that's going to help out. So that was a great deal, and I always seek for where I'm lacking a skill or a talent, and look for someone who I think has that talent and skill, and reach out to them and talk to them and tell them that I'm there to learn from them. And a lot of the times that people are willing to share what they know and help you out when you are genuinely passionate about learning their skill. So that's my advice.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have much more to add, but I do believe mentorship is very important. However, not everybody is lucky to have one, right? So sometimes, we can supplement that. There are blog posts or, Twitter accounts that I follow that give me a lot of motivation, as an example. But speaking of mentorship, I was one that actually wants to have one in the latter part of my career. And it happens to be my previous boss, which 15 years ago when I left the private sector and joined the state government, in her interview, she asked me, 5 years from now, what would you like to do? I looked her straight in the eyes and said, I would like to have your job. Oh. I was really kidding, and I was about to say that, and she was like, well, I like that. And I'm going okay, I'm not going to take this back. So she really, ever since I joined the organization, she saw talent that I didn't know I have, and she has cultivated it and helped me to grow within the organization. And every time, 2 to 4 and 5 years after that, I was in her position. But as she grew, she always took me with her because she saw skills that I didn't even know I had. And it is really important for your career if you have a good mentor.
We've said earlier that tech is a very fast-paced, rapidly changing environment at all times. So what are you doing to ensure that you develop and you grow as a leader in the tech industry?
Now, you got to do a lot of reading, right? read. I mean, I think that's one of the things, I could tell you, I'm sure we know a lot of folks that are spending a lot of time on social media. So if we take some portion of that time and read and learn and keep up with everything that's going on in the world, it is super important. There is so much happening. There's nothing we can do without technology. Have you realized that? Nothing. There's nothing we can do without technology. You can live stream this meeting right now with friends and family that are not able to join this session, but we're able to do all those kind of things, right? The stuff that is happening in the cybersecurity space. We got to understand what is happening, this dynamic stuff that is changing, right? The big thing now is what? Generative AI, artificial intelligence, right? It's a buzzword, all the investment, everything that is happening. But if we're not learning, if we're not reading, if we're not interacting, if we're not networking, we can't be ready to get into those spaces. And as some of the, in the management space, some of us are in, we have to stay up with it. It doesn't mean we have to be experts in that space, But we have to know enough to have conversations as things are happening in our organizations, across the space, across the industry. We have to make sure that we are staying up with these things. So a lot of reading, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of podcasts that are related to all kinds of information. I think YouTube does an outstanding job, a lot of videos that are folks are posting. And I think there's a lot of good content now that's curated to spaces that if you're interested, you put the time, you can actually learn and be ready for the next opportunities that are coming up, as well as, allow you to manage the day-to-day operations of what you're responsible for.
Reading, I think, I don't think I can survive without reading. Like, I have a dedicated time, at least a minimum of 1 hour every day, first thing in the morning. This is just for reading. The amount of information coming at us is the expression I give is drinking from a fire hose. You just really cannot catch it all. And being able to think that you can read everything is impossible. So focus is very important. Being able to be selective. What are the topics that are interesting? What are the topics that bring you passion? What are the topics that bring you curiosity? If I'm not reading, and if I'm, say for instance, I do my daily walk, I'm listening to podcasts, or I'm listening to audiobooks. Now I don't have time for audiobooks. I read condensed versions of books on Blinkist. I mean, it's just because, we have to be a sponge. Like you said, the world is changing in front of our eyes at a rate that we haven't seen, and it's going to get worse, right? So don't wait for somebody else to tell you what to read. Read copiously. Attend meetings. There are tons of meetups. Have a circle of friends. I call them my nerd friends. These guys will know anything and everything, but somehow some guy has found something that I didn't know about. And lastly, as crazy as it is, you'll find so much information on Twitter, especially some of the forward-thinking guys. Paul Graham is one of my favorite guys from Y Combinator, and Mark Andreessen. But they're thought leaders whom you can really glean more information from, that you can learn a great deal and take that idea and run with it. But I don't watch TV. Reading is my TV, so go figure.
Well, mine is different. It's reading. Read. I mean, there's really no magic to keep you up to date with what's really going on. I take it very seriously, and just naturally I have a curious mind, so I'm constantly looking for new information, whether it's books, research papers, articles related to the industry. But also I want to add to what you guys said, that I think it's really important to have exposure to diverse fields. So you can be in IT and just know the IT stuff. It's important to understand what's going on, kind of fundamental research that's going on out there, and learning from those where technology could benefit from other fields. So economics, biology, or politics, or various other disciplines. I think it's important to have that wide range of understanding of the world around you is really important. We live in a world that our jobs are like hyper specialized, so it's very hard to, when you are trained for a very specific thing, and not only in IT, you are in database. It's not just database, it's a specific kind of database that you're building expertise to spend 10 years mastering that. And it's very easy to find yourself boxed into just one small niche area, and maybe that's going to be limiting in your career growth. So it's important to have wide range of exposure, and you would be surprised that how many things that you learn from reading ancient history, and somehow that is related to what you want to present in front of people. And so it's important, I think, to have that diverse reading habit?
Everything everyone have said, I agree with. The problem is we only have 24 hours in a day, right? So always the challenge is how do you fit all this in a day? And I like what Tush said earlier. It's like drinking the water from a fire hose. So what I try to do personally is I do have focused areas that I really want to focus on. So I spend more time on them than the others. Obviously, it's so important to know what is going on around you. There is nothing, as Ted said, that is not based on technology nowadays. Given the amount of time we have family, we have work. So I try to focus more on what is really important to what we're doing that would advance the organization's goal. That takes most of my focus. The rest of the time I just read anything and everything I can find to just help me grow as a person and as a leader in an organization.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል። የምትከታተሉት ያላችሁት the future of tech የሚባለውን main stage power panel discussion በempower the community weekend ላይ የቀረበውን ነው። እስቲ እንደገና ወደ ፕሮግራሙ ልሰዳችሁ።
So last question for our young viewers, young attendees that are getting into the tech space. Can you talk about the advantage of working either in a government, private institution, you're an association? What's the advantage for you, and why did you chose where you needed to be, just so they can have a picture of, okay, can we consider government, can we consider association or the private sector?
I think take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. I don't think it matters whether it's in government, private sector, associations, education, health. I think technology is everywhere. So the nice thing about IT being an equalizer is he could really work in any of these spaces. As long as you prepare for it, as long as you put in the time, I don't know if there's a significant advantage one from the other one, particularly from if you're coming up through the systems, and I think diversity is the other part of it, right? At least get an idea what it is working for in the government space, get an idea what it is working in the private sector space and the health and the finance spaces. That way, when those next level opportunities are coming up, you got that diverse background. You have the knowledge of different areas that you can apply. And I think one of the things we do, we are very specialized in certain areas, but as you move up the ladder, as you become a manager, a senior manager, an executive, you have to have that diverse view of what it is, what technology means for that organization. You're not going to just be focusing on developing products. If you're at a senior manager level, a VP level, or whatever it is above that, you have to have that diverse knowledge of what has happened, how those technologies apply to the end users, how it applies to the internal organization, impacts of outages, all of those things that happen. You can't get that if you're so specific in an area. You have to have those opportunities. So if you're coming up in these spaces, take advantage of it. I think there's a thing about job hopping. Job hop every few years. I mean, get an opportunity to go learn different spaces so that when that next opportunity comes up, when that management level position comes up, you'll be taken seriously because now you have those opportunities to be exposed to multiple areas.
Building your career is like building a house. You have to start from a foundation. When your foundation, where you start doesn't really matter. You need to be able to plan where you want to go. So which means, like Teddy was saying, whether it be corporate, whether it be at government, is always a good thing. And rare occasions I advise people to start at startups because you haven't had the chops or haven't learned the skills. Go learn the way to do things and places where there is a safety net, in a sense that you can experience how to do things and learn how to do things, and effectively with those skills you can always have a trajectory.
there's nothing that precludes you from being able to hustle, do a side gig, be curious, take a course on Coursera. So where you start is just the foundational thing. Where you're going to go is more important. So truly, I think where you get the break is important. But I think the other thing that people I advise is about the hopping, is about be always curious and avoid complacency. Complacency is a career killer, because you think you can't grow, or you think I'm secure, or you think I'm getting a better salary. I mean, I know folks that were making big dollars in Google and Facebook. They just got axed. And now they're saying, it's like, am I secure, or what am I going to do? No job is secure. So I think the most important thing is get your steps right, do your work, produce something, create networks, I think, and hustle. I think you'll be all right.
I think it's important to have exposure to different technologies and industries early on in your career. And that's kind of the path that I went through. And my first few jobs were in consulting companies that exposed me to different industries: pharmaceutical, communication, banking, financial industry. So you get to learn about different industries and build some expertise in those areas. And also it's important to have exposure to different projects. Maybe you play different roles early on in your career, so that you get to experience and see where you're really good at, maybe, and where your interest lies. So it's early on in your career. It's important to focus on gaining more experience and diverse experience than focusing on salary increases, because I read this article that talks about kids that are really successful academically in high school end up going to the best universities, and after the best universities they go and get hired by the best companies, and it's almost like you can't leave that company, or it becomes very hard because they're paying you well and you've achieved it, and there's nothing more for you to go and explore. So it becomes a little bit of a barrier, at least from that article. So I think if you have the option, and of course we're as immigrants, and we were talking before this event that how when you migrate to a country and you're trying to survive, and there's a lot of expectation from you, you don't think about career growth and other things, and you're just grabbing whatever is in front of you and make the best out of it. So that's important. But if you have the option, especially for the kids that grew up in this country, and when they graduate, they have options, different job options, working for a consulting company that exposes you to different industries and different roles, if you can find that, I think that's the best, especially early in your career. And then later on, life takes over, and kids, family, and you have to settle down in one place. And actually, it's a good thing that you get to, if you find the right organization with the right mission, that it gets you excited every day, that you can really contribute in a greater way and grow there. So, and that's really my opinion. That's a little bit different.
So I think for all of us, the sky's the limit. Wherever we want to be, whatever we want to do, there's no question that if we put the effort, if we prepare ourselves, we could get anywhere. I started my career in the private sector and then switched to state government. So I know a little bit about state government, so I'll tell you what my opinion is. The first year when I joined state government, every single day I questioned my sanity. Every month I would put a timeline to say, like, okay, do I want to continue working here? Fast forward 15 and a half years later, I'm so glad I stayed. The reason why I stayed really is because I saw a lot of opportunity to make a difference. And to me, more than the financial aspect of it or anything else, that was the most rewarding part for me, was just being enabled to see it, to make a difference and to see change. Organizationally, from 15 years ago to now, we're like day and night. The first year, everything I did was at a snail pace. Right now, organizationally, we're doing at speed of light, and I wish we can slow some of that down. And I sometimes question myself, is it me adjusting to the way it works, or did we really transform the organization? And I think it's the latter. We can see that in data, we can see that in statistic that supports this. So depending on your motivation, some work in, for not-for-profit, some for in the private sector, some for government. I think the critical part is your motivation. For me, making a difference, making a change was the motivating factor, and that's why I stay in government. And one thing I'll add to that is pension. Government still picks pension.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I wish everybody else asked that. So thank you. Thank you for making the time and sharing your knowledge and experience and expertise. So this is our final panel, but the show is open until 7 o'clock. So I do want to tell you, please continue to shop, spend your money. I do want to thank our wonderful sponsors, EBS Television, Kafata, Clear Communication, District Realty, SB Works, your DMV team, and all of these wonderful vendor partners, our amazing speakers here on the stage, also on all of our breakout session. You are wonderful, valuable attendees. The show wouldn't be, or this event wouldn't be what it is without you coming to support and learn from each other and network from each other. So that's the most important thing. That's why we do this. Just like he said, I've had countless people tell me after they came to Empower, they met someone, they changed jobs and all of that. So this is why we do what we do. So thank you for making the time for coming here. Thank you to our wonderful volunteers, our amazing, amazing team. Salim is somewhere out there, Seti, Ephraim, Zinash, our EBS crew, everybody. Thank you. All of you, if I miss anybody, forgive me, but I do want to say thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ የዛሬ ፕሮግራማችን እዚህ ላይ አብቅቷል። በዚህ ሳምንት እንደዚሁም ባለፉት 3 ሳምንታት ከኤምፓወር ዘ ኮሚኒቲ ዊኬንድ ጋር የቀረቡትን ሐሳቦች ይዘንላችሁ መተን እንደኛ ጠቃሚ ሐሳቦችን ትምህርት እንዳገኛችሁባቸው እንተማመናለን። በጣም ደስ የሚለው ትልቅ አናውንስመንት በመጀመሪያ ሳምንት እንደገለጽኩላችሁ ይሄንን ዝግጅት ለአገራችን በሚመች ሁኔታ በዲሴምበር 2024 ኤምፓወር አዲስ ወደ አገራችን ይመጣል። እኛ በጣም ደስ ብሎ በዚህ ስራውን ጀምረናል። በዝግጅት ላይ ነን ያለነው። ስለዚህ ወደፊት ጊዜው እየቀረበ ሲመጣ ከኛ በብዙ ተሰማላችሁ ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ የዛሬ ፕሮግራም እዚህ ላይ አልቋል። በሚቀጥለው ሳምንት አዲስ የሄለን ሾው ፕሮግራም ይዘንላችሁ እስከምንቀርብ በደህና ቆዩ።